Perhaps at a time when we need his optimistic guidance the most, the world is going to be without a Superman. At least, a live-action Superman. Because, as part of a series of shakeups for the DC extended film universe, Henry Cavill, our Superman, who may not be as optimistic as maybe we would hope, seems to have left the building. That's based off reports he turned down a cameo in upcoming Shazam, and the fact there isn't another Superman project currently in development, so why would he stick around? Which, frankly, sucks. Cavill's Superman has never been the symbol of hope and inspiration that he should have been, that he could have been. And it doesn't seem like now he'll get the chance to ever do that, never be that. And after news of this broke, word also got out that Ben Affleck was leaving his role as Batman. Of course, Affleck's departure has been kind of long in the works, been long rumored, right? But after checking into rehab once again, and with rumors pegging the Batman of Matt Reeves' upcoming solo project at a younger age, if Affleck's leaving the role, now's the time to do it. It's a nice, clean break. Which, it's a shame, really. This whole thing, losing both of these actors is a real shame, because the current flock of DC films nicknamed the DC Extended Universe, that is, of course, everything since the conclusion of Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy, while they've failed to titillate critics and, for the most part, fans, it was never because of Ben Affleck or Henry Cavill. In fact, I'd have to say, along with Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, and admittedly, she's definitely stolen the show up to this point, so I want to give kudos there, but they've actually treated her pretty well. Alongside her, Cavill and Affleck, they're probably the two diamonds in the rough that the DC Extended Universe actually has. And certainly some of the best things that Warner's and DC has going for them. Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, Suicide Squad, and Justice League. The movies that featured Affleck's Batman and Cavill's Superman, they're not derided because of their bad acting or their poor casting. They're looked down upon, and I'm going to be a little bit general here, for their piss-poor writing and direction. This was clear right from the beginning with Man of Steel, which introduced Cavill's version of Superman. In that film, which worked, as an origin story, David S. Goyer alongside Christopher Nolan, Christopher Nolan has a writing credit on Man of Steel. Can you believe that? In collaboration with director Zack Snyder, gave us a grounded Superman glimpse through their, Ayn Rand lens, a Superman who faces nothing but catastrophe, including causing the destruction of an entire city, being forced to let his adopted father get sucked up by a tornado to keep his identity secret, and then also being forced to mercilessly kill his fellow Kryptonian. No wonder the man is dark and brooding. I wouldn't want to smile either. He fared little better in Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, which I'll call BVS from here on out just to keep it a little brief. Written by Goyer along with Chris Terrio, that movie completely nailed Batman's personality and character, setting him up as this sort of grizzled, veteran crime fighter whose perhaps best days were behind him. This is great stuff. Very Frank Miller-esque, very much, the original Dark Knight Returns, which is obviously homage, pretty blatantly homage. But again, I'm let down. Batman and Superman are let down because despite nailing Batman, my main takeaway from the movies are Martha.
Why did you say that name?
Gloopy CG baddies, heavy-handed sequel setup, and what the hell did they do to Lex Luthor? That's not to mention, sad Affleck.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
If the movie had actually been just Batman vs. Superman, if it weren't being used to set up the Justice League, if it didn't rely so heavily on a golden age of comics Easter egg, that movie would have been great. It should have been great. And, looking at the trailers, I was pumped going into Batman vs. Superman. I thought it looked super cool. I mean, that line, the "do you bleed" line, that's a good line. That movie should have ridden the coattails of that line all the way through. But no, it didn't. It failed to capitalize on that. And what we got was bloody convoluted mess. And that's the annoying thing here. These movies, they could have been great. And there's enough greatness within them that shows you if, with the proper direction, with the proper writing, there could have been a gold mine here. They've just been overshadowed by the utter nonsense that has come out of the studio in these last couple of films. Nonsense that easily and just completely should have been avoided. Justice League, which was supposed to be the studio's big budget box office smash, and their answer to Marvel's The Avengers, is sadly a prime example of this, especially with The Avengers' Joss Whedon on board to help with the screenplay, to help kind of tidy it up. You would expect the movie to be entertaining, to be cohesive, to be thrilling even. But can we say mustache? Because knowing the studio spent millions digitally shaving Cavill's upper lip due to the extensive reshoots, it completely dominated the movie. I couldn't watch that movie without looking for that little CG effect there. And it is in that movie a lot. There's a lot of bad-looking upper lip. Really, was there any bit of Superman in what is called the Snyder Cut? Did that even exist? Was there like 30 seconds in the final movie that didn't have that digitally altered upper lip? Now, I think Justice League is a pretty fun movie. It's certainly entertaining. I enjoyed watching it. But it's a convoluted mess, at best. If not an awkward mix of writing styles and tones and different characterizations. And though the big bad is forgettable, the stylistic graphics questionable, and Batman a surprisingly different toned-down version of what we'd already seen, it might never gel, but it's certainly no worse than the wretched Avengers Age of Ultron, right? I mean, at least it actually acknowledged the movies that came before it, right? And though Justice League is no cinema classic, I'm definitely not going to sit here and argue that, it leaves the team, including Batman and Superman, in an interesting place at the very end of it. In these interesting positions that I want to follow up on. I want to see where these things go. And it even teases what would come in a potential sequel, namely the Injustice League. But based on the current slate of films, we're not going to see where any of that goes, at least not anytime soon, because we have Aquaman coming in December, Shazam in April, and Wonder Woman 1984, which obviously takes place before Justice League, next November. And, there are a couple further on, including that Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie that was just recently teased, and that aforementioned Affleckless Batman movie. But, I believe they're real when I actually see them. Now, again, none of these are the showstoppers that the current iteration, I guess I shouldn't call them, I guess they're now the past iteration. That's a little unfortunate to say. But this iteration, None of these are what this iteration should have. These aren't the major blockbusters. These aren't the major titles we're expecting. None of these are going to be another Batman versus Superman in terms of the hype, in terms of the, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening, right? And when we look back years from now, are any of the movies that Ben Affleck leads as Batman, are any of them going to hold a candle to something like the Michael Keaton Batman movies, which are still very much looked back on fondly, or, even the Christian Bale movies? What about Henry Cavill, his Superman? Will anybody ever look at him and say, wow, he is definitely the best Superman? He rivaled Christopher Reeve in that role. Gotta say, I don't think so. Will they simply fall in line in the ranks of actors that have portrayed these characters? If we had to rank all of the live-action Batman and Superman, where would they fall? Where would they be along with Adam West, Brandon Routh, Christian Bale, Christopher Reeve, David Wilson, Dean Cain, George Clooney, George Reeves, Gerard Christopher, John Hames Newton, Kirk Allen, Lewis Wilton, Michael Keaton, of course, Robert Lowry, Tom Welling, Tyler Hoechlin, and Val Kilmer. And that's not even counting all the great voice work behind the animated takes on the characters. There will be more Batman. There will be more Superman. Whether they're in armor or tights, whether they're in undies or not, whether they can turn their neck, we will see these characters on the big screen again. And whether or not we see them portrayed by Affleck and Cavill, we will see these portrayed by other actors inevitably. It's going to happen. Time passes, people age, actors age, but these characters, they're going on close to 100 years old now. They will be around, and they are still as timely as ever. So we will see them again. You can count on it. Maybe even played by Michael B. Jordan or John Hamm, as the internet practically begged for the day all this news broke. No wonder we got such an odd Instagram post from Henry Cavill. Man, that's weird. That's so weird. Whatever the case, maybe by the next time, the studio will remember how to treat these characters right. Here's hoping. This has been Drunk on Writing. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you really liked it, head on over to patreon.com/drunkonwriting and sign up for all of the monthly exclusives that I throw your way. And, head on over to Twitter, head on over to Instagram. Follow me everywhere. I try to do as much as I can. But, it's hot in here, so I'm going to go now. So, cheers. And as always, keep on writing.